Well, good evening. Welcome to Northern Maine Productions. We're out in the workshop. Just thought I'd do a quick little update on this Snapper 30083. As you can see, I've got the two halves of the frame mated back together, and I am slowly but surely working on painting all the individual pieces. I'm just trying to get a basic coat of paint on like the seat bracket and the gas tank bracket and all the little pieces that bolt on here that need to be painted red, because once I get like just a base coat of paint on all these little pieces, I'm putting them back together, and then I'm gonna go over this with a scuff pad and scuff everything, and I'll fully paint the whole thing. I just loosely stuck those old back tires on there, and I've got the front tires back on it so it can roll back and forth here. I worked on the footrest here last weekend a little bit, and I got the old pads off of there, and I haven't done any kind of sanding on them really. They're still fairly rough. So I've got to work on this. And there's some of the original paint right there. I pulled that sticker back, and I think I got the paint matched up fairly close on it by the looks of things. So yeah, obviously there's still lots of work to do. Now, I know you can probably see it here, but there's some places in here where you can see that the metal's pitted quite bad. You know what? It's not structurally compromised in any way. It's rusty. It's been, there's been a battery in this before. This particular machine here did not have electric start. The machine that this piece of frame came off from did have, and I think I'm going to put a foam pad of some sort in underneath the battery when I put this back together, just to kind of protect that, because that's one of the things that was not well protected on these machines. They never had anything in there as far as I know, and the friggin' battery always used to wear the paint right off this would be all worn down to bare metal. Then your battery leaks acid out of it, and the next thing you know, there's rust. So, obviously there's some pitting and roughness down in here underneath the gas tank. Well, big deal. The gas tank is going to set in there, and probably after you run it 5 minutes, the paint's going to be all worn off that anyways from the vibration. If that bracket rusts out, I think I've got 2 or 3 more of them around here somewhere. In fact, there's another one right over there on that gas tank standing up there against the wall. But so far, every piece that I've put back onto this have been the original piece from the original machine. Thing that's different is this piece here. I changed that. I explained that in the previous videos anyways, and that's going to be better anyways, because the thing is incredibly tight compared to the old one over here behind me. This thing just barely has a little bit of play in it, and that's good. I haven't put the handlebars on there yet. That friggin' white paint that's on those handlebars is proved to be quite tough. I don't know if that's some kind of Emron paint or Imron or whatever the heck that's called. That stuff is really tough. So I think what I'm going to do, I've got a jug of paint stripper in the house. I think I'm going to end up brushing some paint stripper on this thing and wrapping it up in plastic and leaving it for a few days. seems to me like the only way to get that paint off of that. And I may do the same thing with the rear wheels too. I started working on them and I'm kind of in the same boat with those wheels. I guess I did put some primer on that one, but the paint's incredibly thick and incredibly tough on those wheels. It's too bad they hadn't put the same kind of paint on the frame of these things when they built them. The original paint that these had on them was friggin' awful. Just spill gas on it and wash the paint right off. But yeah, so far, I mean, I guess that I'm on track to get this thing back together in a reasonable amount of time. There's probably no question I'll be mowing some grass with it this summer, I would think. I've got, you know, obviously I got a lot more to put together here. I've got to see if I can figure out what was left of the wiring harness off of this machine. I don't think there was too much. I don't think there was very much left of it that was any good. I don't recall there being wire up here in the front. I think it was gone. The ignition switch was still there. I do still have the ignition switch and it does appear to work, so friggin' thing, I had to take that. I took that ignition switch apart there last winter. I bent the ears over and took it apart because things sat outdoors for so long. The key rusted right off in it. The stem of the key was still inside the ignition, but the head had rusted right off the key. So I took it apart and got that piece of that rusted out key out of there. So hopefully that'll work all right. But jumpins', I'm trying to get this place straightened out a little bit. I had everything all messed up in here. One night last week I had to wheel the generator, dig the generator and all the extension cords out of here because we had an all-night power failure here a week ago, and I had to take that out, and that generator got run all night to keep the house warm, to keep my refrigerator cold. So that got a good workout. That worked all right. Got all the old gas out of it anyways. But well, I guess probably there's not too much left here to talk about tonight. It's getting fairly late and I'm ready to go inside and go to bed. But there is progress happening here. Like I say, you know, when I get all these individual pieces coated with red paint, try to get all the primered parts of it all covered. When I'm all done with that, then I'll go over this with a scuff pad and just lightly scuff everything, and then I'll recoat the whole thing. Make it all one shiny coat of paint again. Which is, you know, it's incredibly hard to paint this machine and make it look really good because there's so many creases and crevices and places that you can't get at very well on these. But all you can do is just kind of fake it, I guess. My biggest concern was just making sure that everything got covered with paint because, you know, like when I took this apart, I don't believe there was any paint down in between this fenders and this body of this, and that thing was incredibly rusty. In fact, I can show it to you right here. It's the original. That gives you a good idea right there of just how rusty them get down in between that top frame and the fenders. Just freaking rusted all to pieces. I think I can turn this around here. That side just about as bad. Guess there was some paint on that, but this is also a way, this is, well, yeah, there's places here that are bare. Some places had paint, some places didn't, but I don't know, the paint was really poor on them. I mean, that's pretty sad that the underside of that looks as bad as it does. I mean, that shouldn't be all faded to pink like that underneath there. The sun's never got to it. And back here where the oil had coated everything, there's still pretty bright red paint back there, but the rest of it's all gone. The paint's all shot. So, I guess with that, that's going to be it for tonight. Well, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this quick little update. Hope you all have a great upcoming week here. Bye-bye. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Northern Maine Productions. We are in the workshop. Just recently here finished putting the last coats of paint on this little snapper 30083. I've got the whole entire frame completely painted now. It's all red. Came out respectable. This thing was in very rough shape. This headstock right in here came out extremely well. The top of the footboards, as you can see, is a little bit rough. You know, they're pitted. There's nothing I can do about it. I suppose I could put some of that really lightweight body filler over it and sand it all dead smooth, but then, you know, years down the road that stuff would start chipping off there and it would look horrible. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. You know, all this rust damage on this sort of tells a story. It's not going to affect the performance of this machine one little bit. All the crucial parts are in good condition. Amazingly, even this center tube that joins the two halves together is in very good condition. Now, the reason that like the footboards and the top of the deck look the way they do is because when we drug this out of the woods after setting for 30 years, it basically had its own ecosystem growing right on this thing. It had moss growing on it, it had leaves piled on it for years and years, it had a nice coating of pitch all over it. So it retained a lot of moisture, and you know, this little bit of damage that you can see here, there's some imperfection there. You can still see where the foot pads were on there. That's okay, because I'm going to buy some new step pads to put on here. I bought some for the 3081 when I did that. I bought them right at VIP in Holton, and they were like a universal step pad, and they were put out by Reese, the Reese Hitch Company. They were like a universal bumper step pad. They were self-adhesive. I'll tell you what, they've worked outstanding on that 3081. They've been on there for about 8 years now. So basically now it's time to change directions on this. Now I got to start concentrating on wheels and tires and the handlebars, and I could get the parts that are painted white repainted. I've got to take this engine off of this machine. I'm going to refresh the paint on that engine, clean that all up again. I detailed that engine in 2022, but you'd never know it now. I think I've put quite a few hours on it since then. It's pretty dirty, but so basically what I have to do now is I have to get the pieces off of this old machine that I need. I also need the clutch cable off in it also too. The clutch cable that's on this old 2650 right now is actually off of this mower here. So I'm going to reinstall that to this one. And then once I get the few pieces and parts off of this machine that I need, this thing's going outside. It's going outdoors. I got to get it out of the road, and I got to get this place cleaned up, straightened up. So I've still hashing around what to do with this deck, because I think that I'm going to have similar issues with trying to make this deck look really good. It's very possible that I'm going to take the lift mechanism and the mandrel off of this deck, and I may use this deck shell. I'm not 100% certain of that yet. So it's all gonna hinge on whether or not I can get this thing cleaned up and make it look halfway decent. As you can tell, that thing's still covered in pitch and tree sap and everything else and rust, and it's just going to be a matter of whether I can make it look good again or not. I'm going to try hard. I'm going to put my best foot forward and try to work that thing over really good. But I'd prefer to use this one mainly because it's got these metal skids on it to prevent it from plowing into the ground. As you can tell, this deck shell on this thing does not have that. And that's one of the things that I've never liked about this mower. I mean, yes, I probably could take those ones off of that deck shell, or even I could probably even buy some round stock and make some as far as that went, but I'm gonna do the best that I can to make it work. I'd really like to keep all the original pieces to this mower here if I can. So now I've got to buy 2 new tires for the rear. I've got to finish painting the wheels. I've got to paint the handlebars. I learned yesterday that the seat is no longer available for this thing from Snapper, so I got to figure out a solution for that. Something besides this high back seat that's on this machine, because that does not work very well at all with the gas tank behind the seat. But it's a work in progress, and I'm going to keep working away at it here. I think overall this machine is going to look very well, especially if I can actually get a hold of some of the new decals to put on it. I was looking today, and the Snapper decal, the original style Snapper decal that goes on the front of the footboard here, is still available. It's about 15 bucks. The little tiny label that goes on here for the ignition switch is still available, and that's $20-some for that little tiny label. And I think there's still some miscellaneous stickers available that went on the deck too. With these newer, starting after Series 1, they done away with the Comet name on the front of it. My 3081 was actually a Comet. It actually said Comet down across the front of it. But this one did not have that on it. And there was no decal on the back end of it either. Some of the older machines had an old style Snapper logo on the very back end of the frame here, but this one did not have that. So anyways, that's just a quick little snapshot of what things are looking at like here with this. I'm pretty excited to get this thing back together and get her back in the grass. You know, I think there's a lot of surfaces here you won't even see once this thing's all assembled. You will never see all this. You'll never see any of this down in here. The footboards will be covered with those rubber step pads, and I think that's going to really enhance the looks of this a whole lot. Because everything else on this is in relatively good condition. This back frame section looks really good. The front wheels and tires look quite good. So I've got nice rubber pads to put on the pedals. I've got the nice original style pads that go on there. They actually, the older pads had the writing on them. It said auxiliary brake on the right side and then clutch brake on the left side. So all those little pieces and parts are going to really enhance the looks of this. When you get the white handlebars on it and get all the back wheels repainted white, that's going to make the difference in how this machine really looks. Get the nice, you know, I'll have to take the gas tank. The gas tank's black. I'll clean that all out and put some Armor All or whatever on it and make that all nice and shiny black again, so that it'll all look really good when it's done, I'm sure. But, well, anyways, I guess that's it. I'm going to wrap her up and go in the house for tonight. I've had enough for today. I hope you guys have a good one. Bye-bye.